When we talk about lawn fertilizer, we're usually referring to NPK. That's most of the time going to be the focus. Your nitrogen, phosphorus, and your potassium. Key elements to growing a healthy and successful lawn, no question about it. But when you're growing a lawn with heavy clay soil underneath, there are some important considerations that we need to understand and take into consideration with the fertilizing decisions that we make. Right? This is not something other people talk about. I've never heard this discussed, but it is extremely important. So we're going to talk about them today. So the first thing is we need to understand clay soil in and of itself. The particles are very tiny, all right, and they bind together really well. That's why it holds on to water so well. It also holds on very well to nutrients. That's a good thing. If we aerate regularly, and that includes deep core integration, like I've talked about on other videos, then we can reduce the compaction, release those nutrients, and make them more accessible, more available for the roots of the grass, right? So that's good. However, this is the part no one ever talks about. Just as clay soil holds on and binds to those nutrients, it does the same thing with these toxic chemicals that we spray out on our lawn, pesticides, weed killer, whatever it may be. Here's where this gets really complicated and concerning over time for the health of your lawn. Because it's holding on to those nutrients, year after year, we are going back and spraying more fertilizer, putting more weed and feed and all these different chemicals onto the lawn. Parts of that is soaking into the soil and being held onto. Year after year, you run the risk of building up a compound effect of the number of toxins basically in that soil. Now, this is not a discussion on the benefits of organic fertilizer. What we're talking about is the activity, the microbial activity that takes place in your soil. If you have healthy soil, it's alive, all right? It is thriving with this ecosystem, this microscopic ecosystem in the dirt. But if you're steadily layering on all these pesticides and these weed killers over time, basically you can run the risk of souring the soil, as they say. So, what do we do? What do we do? Well, the first thing is we need to focus on using natural fertilizers. And there's several options available to you. I'll run through a few real quick. So here's some choices you have available to you right now. Scott's Natural Lawn Food. This is made from natural ingredients. You don't have this stay off the lawn for so many hours warning like you do with a lot of these that contain chemicals. And that should be a red light to you right there. If they say do not walk on your lawn or do not allow your pets on your lawn for an hour or two after you apply it, it's probably not something we want to be applying to a lawn we're trying to grow in clay soil. But anyway, the Scott uses solutions for their ingredients, including blood meal, meat meal. They also have potash, which is a source of potassium. So, ingredients that are not going to inhibit the growth of the natural microbial activity in your soil. Another option is Greenview Turf Nurture. This is listed as a natural lawn restoration formula by Greenview. They have ingredients including soy protein, meat, bone meal, also potassium sulfate, all of which are natural fertilizer solutions. They advertise their fertilizer as pet and kid safe when used as directed, and that's available on Amazon. I'll have a link to each of these in the description for you. The third one is Sunday Lawn Care. This is one I've taken a lot of interest in lately and have begun using. In fact, it's the only lawn fertilizer that I'm currently using. They have a unique approach. So number one, they look at your geographic location, and from that, they determine, the regional normalities of the soil type. All right. And they send you your initial, it's a subscription program. So they send you your initial application. And then they send a soil test. It includes a free soil test. You do that, send that in. then what they do is they look at that actual soil test and then they adjust future applications based on the results of that soil test. So you truly get a unique fertilizer specific to your soil's needs. I think that's pretty cool. It's the only company I know of that does that. Um, and we do have an agreement with them. You can actually use Thriving 20. That's Thriving 20 to save $20 off a subscription if you want to. But they're not the only solution. My point is, what you want to do is stay away from the toxins. Now, here's where it gets tricky, because you're going to ask yourself, well, what about these insects? And what about these weeds? What am I supposed to do about that? And that's a good question. Now, first, I want to say, as far as weeds, if you have a healthy lawn and your grass is flourishing, then you're going to have less weeds. Most healthy grasses will choke out a lot of weeds. Maybe not everything, but they'll choke out a lot of it. All right, that's number one. Number two, when it comes to weed killers or applying a insecticide, pesticide, whatever, my best suggestion to you is to focus on applying locally and not using a broadcast spreader approach across your entire lawn. So, yes, if you have an anthill, use some Amdro or something and kill those ants in that immediate area, but do not just, fill a bucket full of ant killer and spread it all over your yard. Now, is it okay to do that every now and then because of the situation warrants it? Then absolutely. I'm concerned with the compound effect of year after year of insecticides and pesticides and those toxins soaking down into that clay soil, being bound in that soil, and then the natural microbial activity that we're encouraging, that we want to create a healthy soil for our lawn, we're inhibiting that by filling the filling all the clay with poison that can't be released because clay holds onto it so well. Remember this: when your soil is alive and thriving, your lawn will be alive and thriving. A lawn is literally the reflection of the quality of soil underneath it, and that's a fact. So, as much as people love to talk about, different types of fertilizers and more nitrogen, less nitrogen, and those are great debates to have. If you have poor quality soil, or if you are inhibiting the thriving of microbial activity in that soil, you're going to have a long-term problem with the grass and the quality of that lawn overall. I want you to watch this video where I show a fire ant bed that came up in my yard recently compared to one from a couple of years ago. It's a dramatic change. You can absolutely improve the quality of soil in your yard, and you need to be practicing simple fundamental principles on a consistent basis. All right. Be patient, keep working the program, and you will get there. Give it time. Don't give up on your yard, but follow the steps.